Hello friends, welcome back to DevOps Titan, and today we are here to discuss fourth question in the series of CKA exam practice question. This series has more than 30 plus questions, and you can also find all these questions on my website devopstitan.com and under Kubernetes practice questions. So please visit on the site if you want to go through the website. In this video, I'm going to walk through this question. In case if you are not able to view all the 30 questions on the site, then that means access is restricted for you for a few questions. All you need to do is create a free account on the site and participate in the survey. So without further delay, let's start the question. As per this question, create a pod by name read-only-pod using image alpine. The process running inside pod should only have read-only access to the containers file system. Okay. Create a volume by name myVolume and mount it at data inside container. The process running inside container should have read and write access on the mounted volume. Also run sleep 3600 inside container. So image name, pod name, MountPath inside container, and the command to execute are given in this question. Access, the container file system should have read only access. The mounted volume should have write only access. So basically the CKA, if you are practicing for Kubernetes CKA exam, basically this exam makes sure that if you are able to achieve a passing score, that means you have a good understanding on the Kubernetes fundamental. If you're working as a DevOps engineer in an organization, there would be many time a requirement of very similar requirement what we are going to discuss in the question. Okay, so there might be a requirement where the developers, you as a DevOps admin, you are creating a pod, but you want that the developer or the code, because you don't know about the source code, what source code the developers are coming with, right? You don't want the developer or the code to make any changes inside the container file system. So the process which is owning that container, running inside the container, should not be able to make any changes in the container file system. That means inside a container there are root directory, there would be opt temp. So if someone tries to create or delete any file system in that container, then the process then the user might not be able to create or delete any file system inside container. But if the process which is running, suppose you have as a developer, you are building a code which you want to deploy on Tomcat, for example, and the Tomcat is running inside the container, the pod. Okay, as per your code, you generate log and you want to write that log inside opt directory. If you have this code which writes a new log when certain events are met, and it should generate a log file in /opt directory, then you will not be able to do that, because your process, the container, the pod, the process which is running inside the pod has only read only access on entire file system. Okay, so you will not be able to create a log file under opt. But as per this question, if the same user, if you modify your code and try to write the same log file inside /data instead of opt, inside opt, if you try to write inside data, then you will be allowed to write. So we are going to see that use case here in this question. Okay, so hope this overview, the explanation would have helped you what we are going to discuss it. So let's start. Click on check now and go through this solution which is provided for this question. If you are sure that you can now solve it, then pause this video, go through it, try to solve this question by your own, If you are stuck, then please continue, resume this video and YouTube and follow along. Okay, so there is a small timer here. When you are trying to start the question, click on start, and once you are done, then click on stop, and make sure the entire time should not be more than 5 minutes. There is a small survey here. If you see this survey, the users who are who wrote this exam, or those who are practicing for this question, they have participated in the survey, and this blog is less than couple of weeks, not more. So still we got some 23 response from the users. And if you see here the results, if you click on result, you will see that 30% users who have voted, they actually wrote the exam and they have voted that they receive a similar questions. 13% say they have not received a question similar to this in their exam, and 56% voted that they are still preparing for exam, and but they found this blog or this post is very useful. So in CKA exam, there are multiple sets of questions, which I believe, so they rotate their questions very frequently. So rather than trying to look for actual question, exam question, try to focus on understanding the concept. That will help. Whichever question exam has for you, you will be ready for it. Okay, so let's start. In my blog, for every question I have given some kind of tips, the mistakes which you should avoid. I will try to have a separate video for these mistakes. Probably you should try to go through these videos couple of days or week before actually when you are appearing for CKA exam. So you can ignore these notes here at the beginning. If you want, you can go through it. So the first step is create a YAML file for pod based on the question. Okay, so here if we go through the question, it says create an image, create a pod with read-only-pod with this name, taking image this. You need to define a mount path, so define a volume, and this is a directory you need to define inside container. Then when you are defining pod, you need to inside specification like the template, you need to define the command. Let's see that. I just wanted to refer the question once again before explaining the YAML file. So here if you see, these are the standard here. These are the standard template, API version, kind, metadata. So here I have defined a label, but this is not required in the question. So this is an additional field, a best practice to have some labels. If you don't want, this is an additional field, and if you don't have it, it doesn't matter. Okay, name is read-only-pod, that's good. Under containers, this is the image which the question wants you to use. This is the name of that pod which question wants us. The command, under command we will define the command which is required to have in the question. Then the security context. Okay, so in the security context, if we put this read only root file system true, if we have this, then by default once the pod is running, the pod file system will have read only access. So the user, whichever user owns the container, the process which is running inside the pod or container, will have read only access on the file system. Okay, and then as per the question, there's a volume mounts, and this volume is mounted under /data inside the container, and the name of the volume is my volume. Okay, and here I have defined that my volume is some temporary directory, so it is a local volume. So on your host, if you are Kubernetes cluster, if you are running this pod and this pod comes up on suppose node 1, then on node 1 there will be some temporary directory on the host machine which will store all the files which goes inside data will be there inside that temporary directory on the physical machine on the node 1. For example, if the pod is running on node 1, and moment this pod is deleted, if you delete this pod, then that temporary directory will also go away. Okay, so since in this question they have not defined that on the host machine, on the host like node 1, worker node 1 or worker node 2, if they have not defined that you should store data inside some directory var etc log or some data, if they have not defined, then always use empty directory. Okay, if they have defined that on local system, you should store the files inside, all the files which is there in the slash data should be stored under /temp on the local system. In that case, you need to define host path here and the path. Okay, so but since in this question it is not defined, so we'll go with this value. Okay, here there are some information which I have explained. Same thing is in the write-up. Create this YAML file and make sure it is up and running. Once it is up and running, here are the command kubectl exec. So I'm trying to execute a command inside read-only-pod, and what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to create a file system by touch command inside temp directory, and you see here it should get denied. So command terminated with exit code 1. Okay, and it says here the read-only file system. So this /temp is a read-only file system and you won't be able to execute it. Same command if we try to execute like the touch inside data, and you see we didn't get any error. Okay, so that means it got executed. And next time I'm trying to execute another command, and this time I'm trying to list all the files inside /data or inside read-only-pod, and it has listed this test.txt which we created in this step. Okay, so this shows that we are able to create a file system. We are able to create files or directory, or we have write access inside MountPath but not in on pod file systems. Okay, so this concludes this video. I hope you would have learned something, and practice on these questions multiple times. Try to solve it within a couple of minutes, 2 to 3 4 minutes, but don't take beyond that. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, please consider subscribing it. Let me know if you have any feedback for me. With this, goodbye and see you again soon in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.